What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be another DN ranked match, and I'm going to be playing with the Super Quantum deck again, simply because I just kind of like how it's kind of the most in-depth sort of thing that you have to think about and play with when you're structuring, and I am still just kind of playing through the low ranks. Like, my opponent in this one is only like ranking of 1100. I'm definitely still in the low ranking pool. But anyway, I lose rock, paper, scissors, and he lets me go first, and I'm like, oh my god, broken. I would have been incredibly displeased if I had ended up trying to like play Mermails or something, some other going second deck that I love to play, if I had just started playing, you know, one of those. But my opening hand is really good. Brilliant Fusion, plus Red Layer, plus the Fairy, plus an Instant Fusion. Like, there's no way that I don't make Magnus here, basically. There's only like one instance of small variables where I couldn't make Magnus. But I activate the Brilliant Fusion, just kind of seeing if he has Max C, maybe. I mean, he chose to go second, so could possibly be the case, but everything just goes through unopposed. The Seraph Knight hits the board, and the Trick Clown comes back, and after I've thinned my deck out with the Trick Clown and the Garnet, I upstart, and then I draw the Terraforming, and I'm like, okay, there's absolutely no way that I can't make Magnus now. Like, there's absolutely no way, because I still have two normal summons, I still have all of these different things that could just happen. If I don't hit the right cards off of the Fairy, I can always just tribute summon something for the Red Layer and then get a card back and just do things in that way. But summon the Fairy, see if there's a potential Veil or anything. I declare additional normal summon because you do get to declare whether or not you're using your additional normal summon or not when you're doing your normal summon. That way, if Seraph Knight leaves the board later, I still have my regular normal summon for a turn. If you declare that you were using your additional normal summon, then that is something that actually is allowed for you to do and actually does factor in. But anyway, the Fairy goes through, and extremely standard, revealing Red Layer, revealing Green Layer, and revealing Blue Layer from the deck. I have no idea why I don't call the Fairy white. I say Fairy. I say blue, green, and red for all the other ones, but I call the Fairy Fairy instead of white. Like, I don't understand. I think I actually ended up calling it white at some point in this game, and it just feels unnatural. But anyway, I reveal a green, blue, and red. And I structure green as 1-2, red 3-4, blue 5-6, and he rolls 1-2, so the green gets summoned, which is actually really good, because that gets the Red Layer out of my hand without having to normal summon it as well. I make a small mistake here in activating red right there to bring back the Blue Layer, where I could have actually just potentially have added the Blue Layer back to my hand off of the Red Layer being summoned and then normal summon it, but instead I special the Blue Layer off the Red Layer that went to Grave effect, so it can't activate its effect, so I don't get a search, obviously. But then, with the Green Layer that got summoned, I special the Red Layer out of my hand, and then the Red Layer adds back the Fairy from my graveyard, so that's in my hand ready for the next turn as well. So there is a bit of a follow-up sitting here. But overlay the Trick Clown and the Green Layer into the Green Mech, the Green Zord, and I just kind of contemplate my options for a bit. Terraforming is definitely just going to be used for the field spell. Basically the, what is it, Magna Carrier or something like that? Is that what its actual name is? I don't refer to these cards by their actual names. I know the green Zord is called like Ouroboros or something, Ouroboros, and the red one's called, what, Magna Liger? Just because it's like a badass name, but yeah, that's basically all I know in terms of the actual effects. I just refer to them as colors and like what the actual card itself is, other than Magnus. But anyway, overlay the Seraph Knight and the Red Layer into Magna Liger, and then I ditched the Instant Fusion to overlay on top of the Blue Layer to give it a exceed. And while they're detached, I'm going ahead and counting materials, because it is a pain in the ass to count the materials of Magnus after you overlay, so I count the different names and the different materials before I even overlay by ditching the field spell and then summoning Magnus. And he has 8 different materials, and all of those materials have a different name. It's the Trick Clown, the Seraph Knight, Red Layer, Blue Layer, and then one of each of the Zords, and then Trick Clown. I can't remember if I said that already, but yeah, it's 8 different materials with 8 different names. So very, very strong, actually. Very strong. I also have the Fairy in my hand backing myself up, so literally next turn I get to start out with normal summoning Fairy and activating its effect for whatever I want to get, and start getting things moving in that way as well. And I really like the fact that Brilliant Fusion just chills on the board, because even if your opponent doesn't play any cards or leave any cards for you to spin, you can then just use that as a card to spin on your own turn. Brilliant Fusion being just a dead card sitting there. You can just spin it to the deck, and use Magnus as just a way to just accelerate your plays, because of the fact that all the guys that are under it basically have different effects. But he's thinking for a while on what he can and can't do, and he reveals Allure of Darkness to me and asks if he can use it, and I just say no, because that is the case. Drawing cards through card effect is considered adding a random card from your deck to your hand by card effect, and Magnus stops that, because Magnus is 6 or more different name material effect is your opponent cannot add cards from the deck to the hand by card effects, and drawing cards through card effects like Allure of Darkness, Upstart Goblin, and stuff like that is adding a random card from your deck to your hand. That's what it's considered as. It's not very clear in the wording of Magnus, but it's in the rulings for the card, basically. So it's just something you kind of have to know, but he just sits there and kind of contemplates and thinks for a bit. I still have very little idea of what he could actually be playing. I mean, he revealed an Allure of Darkness to me, but that's it. So, I mean, he could be playing Phantom Knights, he could be playing BA, he could be playing a whole host of different things. But finally, he reveals some information to me. He reveals Dragon Shrine, and ends up sending a vanilla Labradorite Dragon and Eclipse Wyvern. And now, I didn't actually pay attention to the fact that that vanilla was Labradorite Dragon when it was sent in-game. And for some reason, I thought that I was just going to be playing against a regular, like, Red Eyes deck, because he's got Darkness Metal as his picture, and there was a Dragon Shrine, and he sent an Eclipse Wyvern, and I just saw a vanilla, and the vanilla had black artwork. So I just assumed that that was Red Eyes Black Dragon. So you'll see that I'm kind of, like, uncomfortable with my side deck options later, because I just didn't factor into what he could be playing, because I didn't see Labradorite Dragon. Labradorite Dragon obviously just puts it into perspective that he's playing some sort of hieratic deck, basically, because why else would you play Labradorite Dragon? He's definitely playing hieratics in there and using it as some form of engine. Like, that's the deadest giveaway. But regardless, I top deck an E-Tele for turn, and I E-Tele straight for blue layer, and blue layer gets me to search another blue layer, and I actually don't think that's actually illegal. I don't think you can search blue layer with blue layer. I need to actually read the card. But it actually doesn't actually end up being a thing that matters, because I literally was just grabbing a Super Quantum card to ditch off of green layer going to grave, because there was going to be a green layer going to grave no matter what he did, because if red layer went to grave, I'd be able to special summon something back off of this fairy. If the red layer went to grave and green layer got summoned, then I would be able to just summon something back off red layer and then detach the green layer from Magnus to shuffle Brilliant Fusion back, stuff like that. I was basically guaranteeing myself to draw a card because I wanted to try and draw a trap, anything like that. But anyway, I reveal another copy of the fairy, red layer and green layer, and he rolls randomly for the red layer after I'd put numbers to them. So the fairy and the green layer go to grave. So here, green layer triggers and red layer trigger to add a card back, and then green layer will draw. So I put red layer's effect targeting the fairy again, so that I have the fairy in my hand again, and then green layer to ditch the blue layer and draw a card. Me adding blue layer, whether or not it was legal or not, I actually have to read the card again. I just need to make sure that that's something that can be done, because I didn't read it in the game. But regardless, it would be irrelevant, because I was literally just using... well, actually, it is actually kind of relevant, because I end up reborning the blue layer later in the turn. Oh well. That's why we play on DN, basically, because I want to learn things. Like, that's why I'm playing DN. But basically, the card I draw off the green layer is Reasoning, and that's a very, very, very good card to have drawn. Extremely good. Oh my goodness. Extremely good. But I use the Magnus to top deck and shuffle the Brilliant Fusion away, because I just read Magnus one more time. It's 2 or more effect to confirm that I can shuffle any card on the field back to the deck before I do it, just so I don't have to go and hunt it down again. And then I detached red layer off Magnus, so he still has 7 materials, but I bring the blue layer back off of red layer and just try to just get damage and then overlay into the rank 3. But still, even then, I don't think the blue layer, if the blue layer is illegally there, it doesn't actually matter. If anything, it would have just been another green layer, and it would have been more damage and not overlaying into the blue Zord. Like, that's the only thing that would have changed. Like, it didn't actually change anything relative to, like, the actual gameplay, because I've already won, because he does not have an out to Magnus, or else he would have activated it last turn, and if he had any back row, he probably would have set them, so me making the MST here probably is also just irrelevant to the game plan. But regardless, I'll just double check. Yeah, it does say, I can see it right now while I'm commentating, it does say except Super Quantum Blue Layer, so that was not technically legal, but in terms of the scope of the gameplay, it actually wasn't largely relevant, because I was literally just adding a card to discard off green layer. Yes, I did use blue layer's effect there to shuffle cards back, but still, that didn't matter either, because I didn't actually have to get to them, and if there was a different monster or a different card added instead, I would have just used red layer to get back green layer from grave. So, like, all these things are relative, so, but that is why I like to play on DN now, because it actually makes you catch things like that. Like, the fact that I'm playing these games and I'm watching them back, like, there are some things like that I just catch that I'm like, oh my god, that actually isn't something that's possible. But anyway, as you saw there, I was kind of having trouble siding, like I said before. I thought he was playing the Red Eyes deck, and I was like, is he going to let me go first again? Is he going to blind second, or actually go second in a sided game? Or am I going to be going first, or am I going to be going second? So I was like curious, I was like trying to decide whether or not I wanted to side out the reasonings and side in the hand traps, if I wanted to put in more backer removal, and I just ended up taking out these strikes and putting in Necro Valley, and 2 Twin Twisters, because Necro Valley at least prevents stuff from being moved around, all that nonsense. But he ends up letting me go first again, and I open with Brilliant Fusion and the Fairy and a Terraforming and Instant Fusion again, and I'm just like, whoa, this is insane. But I also have Warning, so I was like, I can potentially very easily make Magnus here, and then also back it up with a Warning. Neat. But send Trick Clown as per usual off of the Brilliant Fusion, get it back, and then use my additional normal summon on the Fairy, and just kind of wait to see if he has any response. But I'm declaring that it's my additional normal. I always do that, just because, again, I don't know when the Seraph Knight is going to be off the board, and I would like to preserve my regular normal summon. But in response to the summon of the Alphen, he says he's going to think. I allow it, and I'm like, sure, absolutely. And he discards Valor on the Fairy, so now I cannot use it this turn, and I'm like, oh, that completely derails my entire game plan. So I'm trying to think of what to do. I've got Warning, which I can use as protection for the Fairy as well, but again, in my mind, I'm like, this is the Red Eyes deck, so he could easily have some other sorts of things to possibly just summon and get over the Fairy. I want to be able to 100% protect this Fairy from being dealt with, and then I realize, look at that Utopia, look at him, look at that sexy beast, look at that handsome man, and I do have an Instant Fusion in my hand. So, I Instant Fusion for Norden, and use Norden to bring back the Garnet that's in my graveyard. And at this point, I'm literally considering the fact that the best play on this turn is to overlay for Utopia, Yuma style, and just protect the Fairy with Utopia and a Warning. So I make Utopia with Norden and the Trick Clown, and I leave the Garnet out in attack mode, and I have the Terraforming in my hand still, and I set Warning and pass. I'm not going to set the Terraforming, because if he has Twin Twister, I definitely do not want him to take out another engine card. Like, he can easily just take out the Brilliant Fusion, pop the Seraph Knight, cool, that's easy, that card already got value, and then take out the Warning as well. But, so I finally actually it's sunk into my thick skull about what he's playing. He's playing Hieratics, and he's playing Chaos Dragons in it as an engine as well, like as Light Pulsars and stuff like that, and I mean, rightfully so. But he Convocations for a Tefnuit. He's actually probably playing Chaos Dragons, and then playing Hieratics as an engine in that, rather than the other way around. But anyway, in fact, actually, yes, I'm almost positive that's the case. But he summons Tefnuit out of his hand, specials Tribute summons it for Light Pulsar Dragon, and gets the Labradorite Dragon back. Actually, I think that's another one out of his deck. And he tries to overlay for Pilgrim Reaper, which, if you don't know what that card does, it mills 5 cards when it's summoned, but I just Warning it, just so there's not as many cards in circulation, and it's also just another threat that's gone from having to deal with the Fairy. And he discards an Eclipse Wyvern and a Caius in order to bring back the Light Pulsar, but at that point, I think he realizes that there's no way that he can make any sort of rank 6 or anything else based off what the other card in his hand might be that would allow him to deal with the Fairy. And so the Utopia just kind of sat there, and it was kind of going to get me there, and the next turn I literally get to start my turn with Activate Fairy and like just get to go from there. So he kind of just realized that, and I guess he just didn't want to deal with it, and he decided to scoop. But anyway, that is all for this game. Let me know what you guys think about the decks in question, the games themselves, all that stuff in the comments down below. If you're going to hate on DN, I mean, I'm just going to enjoy your salty tears, because DN is 100% better than DEVpro in every single way for my purposes, and I will probably make a different video discussing that at length, but right now, tears. I want them. Give them to me. But anyway, as usual, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Check out the links in the description. It's my Twitch links and my Facebook pages if you want to connect with me, chat with me, see my live streams, stuff like that. Just all the different stuff that's there. It's there for you to use them. But other than that, that is all for this video, as I've already said. And as always, guys, take care.